before we get going, obviously it's nice to have a little bit of time where you can focus on some prep, you can focus on some longer term things you've been wanting to work on as a team. So we've been doing that rivalry week with Stanford. We're looking forward to the game. We're expecting a great crowd, and just excited to continue onward, continue getting better, continue improving as a team. Our defense has gotten a lot better, and that's been a tribute to the players and the coaching staff, and we'll continue to work.
Mark, can you talk about how you expect to feel differently as a player in this rivalry, or as a coach in this rivalry, than you did as a player?
Yeah, I think, first of all, it's been a long time since I played. So that's almost like a distant memory. And to be playing it at our place first against Stanford, of course, I'm treating this like every conference opponent. But obviously, once the game day hits, I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of emotion because it's my alma mater. Had some great memories there, some great friendships and relationships, and we had success. It's personal in a lot of ways. My first unofficial visit was to Cal, and Jared Haas was on the team. And so I watched Jared Haas practice. Jason Kidd was on the team. I think Grigsby was on the team. And now Jared's coaching Stanford, I'm coaching Cal. And so, things have a way of coming full circle. Stanford's having a great season. They are one of the top 3-point shooting teams in the country, but they're definitely not a one-trick pony. They can attack you in the post. They can go off the dribble, and they do a lot of different things. They'll change things up offensively and defensively. And so we're excited for the challenge. It should be a great game.
You talk about trying to defend their 3-point, because statistically you guys are at the bottom of the conference in 3-point defense, and they're at the top in 3-point offense.
Yeah.
Is that a big challenge in the game for you?
Well, if you look at the overall defensive numbers, we've been trending in a great direction. I think overall, in terms of defensive efficiency, we're moving up. We're moving up, and one of the things that makes Stanford unique is not only do they shoot it well from three, but the guys that are shooting threes have great length. They're tall. They can get their shot over the top of people, and so every team has the challenge of defending the 3-point line against great teams, and we'll have that challenge Friday night.
And for a rivalry game like Stanford, you alluded to this, but where do you stand between the two approaches of let's approach it like any other game versus inviting the pressure and kind of embracing that to play your best basketball?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we put our heart and soul into every single game, whether it's non-conference, conference. I mean, we just throw ourselves into it with the preparation. The staff does, I do. We're up early, we're working on it late, we're doing all types of work and preparation that we can so that when we get onto the court, the preparation's done. Now it's about making adjustments. And hopefully we're executing well. And so we're just, again, it should be a great game. I think both teams have been trending in the right direction in terms of making adjustments and playing winning basketball.
Mark, after you got the job, a couple of weeks after that, I wrote a story on kind of the cross-pollination of Cal and Stanford sports with Sharman here and Troy Taylor there. And I spoke with Andy Walker, the former Cal golfer who's the golf coach down at Stanford. And the question I asked her was, what are misconceptions Cal people have about Stanford? And what are misconceptions that Stanford people have about Cal? And she said the biggest misconception that Stanford people have about Cal is Stanford people don't realize how much Cal wants to beat Stanford. Now that you've been at Cal for a while, do you get that sense of what Ann was talking about?
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I can definitely see where Ann's coming from with that comment. I mean, when I was at Stanford, we wanted to take it to Cal too, because they had a lot of success. I think you could come up with a long list of conceptions, misconceptions on both sides. But when it all comes down to it, both schools academically are phenomenal, and from an athletic standpoint, both schools are top notch. And the only thing I'm a little bit frustrated with is that when you add up the traffic. I mean, these schools are not as close to each other as, say, UCLA and USC. You got the Bay, you got Bridges, you got all this stuff, and so part of me wishes the school there was more proximity, because it's a great rivalry already. But we take the Bay out of the equation, it'd be even better.
Not that you would ever invite Jeff and me to your house, but if we walked into your house,
Well, why not?
We're available.
All right. You want to come change some diapers?
Yeah.
That's fill up some bottles.
Done that.
Fill up some bottles and
how much Stanford memorabilia would we see in your house?
We just moved. I definitely have Stanford stuff. I definitely have a ton of Cal stuff, and I got to figure out where it all is right now.
Okay.
Because we're still unpacking boxes. But no, I mean, my alma mater will always be my alma mater. I love Stanford. We had a lot of winning there. Mike Montgomery built a great program. A lot of us that went there and played there, from a basketball playing perspective and just from a friendship perspective of non-athletes, I mean, these are great friendships and relationships.
Let me flip one more on that. You mentioned Mike Montgomery. Mike did something similar to what you've done. Have you talked to Mike about how he handled it, and maybe specifically about how he handled playing against Stanford?
Mike and I have talked a lot about just the differences between Cal and Stanford. We've never talked about the actual game itself. Probably because, when it comes down to it, they're doing everything possible to win. All of their preparation this week is going into one thing, trying to beat us. And conversely, we're doing the same thing. And so for me, again, I don't feel the emotion right now, because this is two teams trying to win this game. Now, the day of, there's going to be some emotion there. Just like the first 2 days on the job for me here, I'm used to seeing red everywhere I go. And so seeing the blue for the first 2 days, that was an adjustment.
Sure.
But I made the adjustment, and go Bears.
I don't know if you've seen the tweets, but it sounds like most of the football team and coaching staff is going to be here Friday. What does that support mean to you, and what's your interaction been like with Coach Wilcox and the Cal football staff?
Yeah, well, Justin Wilcox is just, first of all, a great coach, and he's a great person. He's been to multiple of our games. And, he reached out and he said he wants to bring the whole football team, and that's meaningful for us. That means a lot. We tried to get out there and support as many football games as we could. And Cal football, as we know, got so hot late in the season. And it was a lot of fun. Win or lose, to feel that support at a place like Cal is just, it's awesome. It's awesome. And Justin and I, we have a close friendship. And it's extremely meaningful that he would come out and support like that with his team.
One of the things, McKeith, in this matchup is the big man matching Fardas, IMAC, and Maxime right now. Just kind of what do you see from that matchup, and kind of how do you see kind of IMAC against him? Just thoughts on that match, particularly as a former big man yourself.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I joke with our players all the time. I say, hey, we've got the magnifying glass on every player on this team, but if you're a big, you better be on your best behavior, because I can see that in my sleep. I can see that in real time in every game, what the bigs are doing, because I played the position. And Fardas has been absolutely fantastic this season. He's been shooting threes. He's been rebounding. He's been posting up. He did a great job, really, in a lot of ways, of offensive rebounding in key situations. And so Fardas is putting together a masterpiece season. And by the same token, we have great respect for Stanford's big man right now. He's talented. He also can step out and make a three. He's a strong rebounder. He does a lot of good things. He brings that international expertise. He brings toughness, and he is a very strong and very talented player.
Stanford's had a lot of solid recruiting classes, but the general perception is that they've underachieved in recent years, and they've had some good wins this year, including Arizona. Do you see something different about this team this year, or have you taken a look at some of their prior teams in recent years?
Yeah, I definitely have watched, because I went there. I always follow Stanford. And, I can just say that Jared Haas has done a great job since he's been there. They've had all types of adversity. They've had injuries at different times, different years. They've had eligibility situations with certain classes not matching up. And they've attacked every single one of those. And they go out there and they play a really great brand and style of basketball.
Is something different about this season? Do you see them?
I think they've gotten off to a really good start in conference. They had a great win at UCLA. They had a great win against Arizona. They've had a lot of quality wins, and I think adding a guy. I think you look at obviously Carlisle. He's been a great addition to that Stanford team. In addition to all the guys on the team, Spencer Jones, kind of the old faithful steady hand out there, who can play. He can defend. He can come up with huge rebounds. He can make 4 threes in 4 minutes. He can change games. And so, and then you've got a guy like Keefe, that what Keefe does on the court, it doesn't always show up in the box score. Some players in the NBA, you finish a game, a lot of players will take the box score, get it wet in the shower, and put it right up on the shower wall. And you know, you look at the stats, you look to see what you did, you see what other players did. Keith is going to do stuff that shows in the box score, but what he does, a lot of it never will show up in the box score. He's just a winner. He's a guy that is going to set the screen that gets someone else a layup. He's the guy that's going to take the charge, that's going to be a huge play. He's one of those guys that's the heart and soul of a team or an organization. But Stanford has a lot of guys that can impact the game.
Well, to kind of get an encore thing in, you talk about how your defense has improved in the last few weeks. The other thing that obviously has improved, you can use by numbers, is valuing the basketball.
Yeah.
You guys have made so many fewer turnovers than you did through early January. Why?
It's been a huge emphasis point. You know, early in the season, I mean, look, when it's all said and done, it's on me as the head coach, okay? But early in the season, we had a lot of people coming and going with injuries, with eligibility. We were thrusting people into new roles. We were, you know, playing people in roles and in positions that maybe have never done that. You know, guys are settling into their roles better. Guys have really embraced that, you know, that's an important thing to take care of the ball. And surprisingly, and it helps your defense. If you have 10 live ball turnovers, well, guess what? That's 8 to 10 layups at the other end that are undefended or minimally defended. And so by taking care of the ball, you're going to get hopefully a shot up more times than not, and it actually helps your defense.
The son of an NBA colleague of yours plays for Stanford, Andres Stojakovic. Just kind of thoughts on his game and also just kind of your relationship with Peja and how much did you kind of interact with him during your years in the league?
Yeah, I mean, Andre Stojakovic, I mean, he's just a great player. I mean, he shoots the three. He's got a mid-range pull-up. He has great size. You know, I've watched plenty of film on Stanford already, and he is a tremendous talent, and you can just see it. I mean, he's a future pro. He is he's a guy who sees the game and plays the right way. You know, in terms of Peja, I mean, we had some battles when I was with the Lakers. I was more of the role player off the bench, spot minutes here and there. He was a guy that was out there making huge plays, you know, for the Kings. And to this day, people come up to me and they ask about the officiating in certain games in the Sacramento series. And if Peja were here, I would tell Peja, don't blame it on the officiating. You know, Lakers won fair and square, and there's too many people that try to bring the officiating into that thing. But in all seriousness, you know, Peja is just a true professional. Over the years, we've had a few conversations here and there, before a game, after a game. Not a ton, but I have nothing but respect for him and his family.
You're coming off a big win over Washington State and 2 buzzer beaters back to back, which was a crazy circumstance. Can you step back and talk a little bit about that first game against Washington, how that was defended? It looked like it was a 1-3-1 where it was pretty hard to cover the guy in the corner who hit the game winner. How was that set up?
Well, I don't want to go into all the details of the setup because, you know, sometimes coaches watch each other's press conferences to try to glean information. But what I can tell you is, you know, we went back, we looked at things. There are things we could have done better on the court, just in terms of floor balance and things of that nature. I take accountability for the loss and for us giving up the made 3. I take accountability for it. That being said, you know, we can do a few things differently to be able to defend that corner shot a little bit better.
I just want to get your thoughts on Jalen Tyson, just kind of your thoughts on his progression throughout the season. I believe he's leading the Pac-12 in scoring.
Yeah.
Just what have you seen from him and just his growth from the beginning of the season to now, and just the impact that he's made on your team this year?
Yeah. I mean, Jalen Tyson's a unique player because, yes, he's kind of right at the top of the Pac-12 in scoring. I don't really follow that. You're saying he's number 1 right now?
That's last I checked,
Okay,
yeah.
I know he's either, it fluctuates and he doesn't care about that, I don't care about that, but he is a prolific scorer. But the great thing about Jalen is he's a great passer. Jalen Tyson's a great passer. And you guys see it. You guys watch the same film and you guys watch the same game live that I watch. The great thing about Jalen is he's going to make the right play. He can score. He is not a selfish player. And he's not a player that's just only looking out for himself to shoot. We've even had to tell him at times, Jalen, shoot the ball more. Shoot the ball more, especially when you're open. But it's really nice as a basketball coach when you see such a talented player nationally as Jalen who takes joy in making his teammates better. And he's good at it. He's really good at it.
Mark, thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, thanks guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.